nice thing about working on a horse is 9 out of 10, or maybe 99 out of 100, will fall asleep. Their eyes close a bit, they go hanging comfortably, their lips will sink, and they will be completely relaxed. When you're working on a horse with quantum touch and he's growing accustomed to it, so you've been treating him for more than 1 or 2 times, they know exactly what they want. So you keep your hands on the same place. The horse will move around. Make sure that your hands are going to be in the position that he or she wants it to be.
So how does it show you?
It shows by wiggling. It just moves around. It says like, oh, no. This is where I want you to be. And if your hands are there, he's going like, oh, no, you have to be right there. And he'll show you, absolutely. What I really love about working on an animal is their reaction is so pure and so well meant. They cannot pretend that things have changed. They cannot pretend pain has gone. They will show you and they will know if things have changed and gone. And
every time when I give someone a session, I don't believe it. I don't expect anything, and still wonders come up.
Hey, I treated so many people with quantum touch, I think, maybe 10,000 or more. And what I experience is that when I see things happen again and again and again, I start to believe that it works. And then when I work with someone, I think, okay, let everything happen what the body can do. And I think so much more can happen than I can imagine. Because I couldn't imagine that my mother's arm would heal after 60 years, but it did. And I couldn't imagine that I could get my husband straight when he was so far out of line, but it worked.
So for the head reshaping, it's probably been 5 babies that I've done this with. The quantum touch work, I've worked with many babies, but the actual head reshaping, I can think of 5 at least. So I'll just intend energy into the head, and before my eyes, I can see the head reshaping. One particular case, it wasn't before my eyes, it was a C-section, and I just gave it my all. I just gave this baby everything I had. And then I walked out and they said within an hour, poof, everything just went into place.
And you watched the head remodel.
Yes.
And I just wonder, would that happen without quantum touch?
No, I mean, nature is incredible the way nature is wired. That the sucking at the breast will help a pumping inside the cranium that can help the head get round. But if the overlap is too significant, it's like maybe the baby was stuck inside before the birth, or the birth was intense enough that the overlap is strong enough. That may not correct through just nature's help. I had one particular baby that as soon as the baby was born, it was an obstetrician, it was a C-section, looked at the baby and said, your baby's going to need surgery. The head is so misshapen, the brain won't be able to grow properly. And so I started working on the baby every day. 12 days is what I get for daily sessions, and the baby's head is beautifully round. I'm often invited in when the baby is just a few minutes old and isn't breathing easily, and so I just will use the level 2 work, send with my full heart and intent into the baby, and baby just starts breathing evenly.
And that's happened all the time?
Once I discovered this particular way,
Yeah.
it's been pretty effective pretty fast.
Wow.
And that night when I got home, I realized that I no longer had bowed legs. They were perfectly normal legs. But the fact that students did it, I thought was pretty impressive. As a result of being so impressed with quantum touch, with what it did for me, 9 months later I became a practitioner, and 9 months after that I became an instructor. And so now I use my story to inspire others.
They then suggested, the wound surgeon, because of these severe wounds, said that this person has peripheral vascular disease. You will never get circulation down to the foot. Her heel was pretty much, looked like a bomb had hit it. The bone was showing through the heel. Her calf was missing about 4 by 5 inch piece of material, and another huge sore on her coccygeal area. And they of course suggested that they take the whole leg. I began working with her personally every single day. And a month later, we went back to the wound surgeon, and he said, well, you at least have to take from the knee down off because this will never heal. And I said, no, we'll keep working. You know, she wants to work. She loves the energy work. And guess what? She can now move her toes. And he said, well, she'll never get better. And then 2 weeks later, we went back, and he said, well, I don't know what you're doing, but you at least have to take off the foot because you can never bring this back to life. You'll never get energy down here, and it'll never heal. And she could get an infection, and she could die. And I said, well, we'll just keep working and see what happens. And I can tell you now, it's been about 4 months. The tissue is totally grown over the heel. There's no bone showing. The calf is almost totally healed. So she's made a complete recovery, and she can move her toes, and there is heat in the foot and in the leg. So she does have circulation there. And once again, this woman is from Quantum Touch.
I missed a step, and I was hoping that I had just sprained it. So I went to the chiropractor. He was 2 minutes away, and my foot was off to the side like this. My leg was straight and the foot was off. And he said, you need to go to the emergency room. It's broken, because he couldn't get it to move at all. It would not budge. So while I'm sitting in the emergency room waiting for them to come to take me down for an x-ray, I started running energy, and it hurt really bad. But I continued to run it because I remembered you saying sometimes it hurts because things are moving where they belong. And when it stopped hurting, I took my hands away, straightened my foot out, and watched all the swelling go down. And when they did take the x-ray, everything was in perfect alignment, and I had a fracture of the tibia.
I had a client come to me, and she'd had sciatic pain for over 30 years. She was an elderly woman, and she had to go on a plane for 17 hours the following day. So I told her, well, let's do an hour session, see what we can do. And she laid down, I started working on her, and she went from pain level about an 8 or 9, and by the end of the session, it was a 0. And not only that, but it's been over 3 years now, and her pain has never come back. It's been totally gone, and she suffered for over 30 years with it. And every time she sees me, she gives me a huge hug, and she's so grateful. She was able to go on her plane ride the next day with 0 pain, which would have been very, very painful for her normally. But it was a pleasant ride. She didn't have any discomfort or pain, and it was a really amazing experience.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So, you can see, we'll come down here, put the hands up like that. See the right side's higher?
Uh-huh.
So I'll sit back here and measure again. And it's even. Right there. And turn around.
I totally noticed that. I was
There's takes a second. So tell me that.
I was sitting there like waiting for something to happen, and then I noticed it. I was like, wait a minute, I'm standing different than I was 2 seconds ago.
All right, when you looked at me and I realigned, I mean, my whole left side was off, okay? And it totally rebalanced and brought me back into balance with my emotions and everything else.
I couldn't do laundry. They hoisted me out of bed in the morning to drive them to school. And I was at the point where I had 9 doctors, and one of them said to me, it's just a matter of time, maybe a year, and you'll be blind and in a wheelchair. And I sat there and I absorbed that information. And I said, no, thank you. I didn't know what else to say. And I took my first Quantum Touch class. It opened my reality to a whole new world of how a person who is quote unquote uncurable can totally be cured and healthy. Today I rollerblade, I walk my dog for 2 or 3 hours at a time, and I have to say Quantum Touch opened the door, and I honor it on all levels, because although I've went on and I've discovered I'm back to Quantum Touch because it really is the best basis to start from. Thank you.
Thank you.
when she received the news that she actually, the cancer had returned with a vengeance and it had metastasized, so it was throughout her brain. And I remember thinking, Quantum Touch, I can help heal her, but I got this message that no, that's not what I was there for. I was there to help support her. And so through this journey, I would go to her home, because she was now homebound, and I would work with her and I could help her with pain relief. So she'd be in immense pain, and I was able to go lay hands onto her, working especially with her head, and watch that pain melt away. And it was a beautiful gift that you gave me that I could give back. I remember going in one day, and she was laying curled up in a fetal position in the hospital with a rag over her eyes. She couldn't see. She was moaning in pain, and I walked in and I laid hands on her head. And what I remembered is that it's your love that makes a difference. And so all I did was run as much love as I could build in my heart through my hands and into her head. And within 15 minutes, she rolled over, she took the towel off her eyes. She opened them and she looked around. She goes, I feel good. So I continued to run the energy, and she sat up on the bed and she goes, I feel joyous. And she says, and I'm hungry. I just wanted to share that doing Quantum Touch is something that always gives me a sense of wonder and awe. I am constantly amazed. I work in a corporate environment, and so I have a glass wall for an office. And people will come by, and it used to bother me a little bit when people come in and here I'd have my hands on someone, I'd be working on them. Pretty soon my office, now I have lines of people who will come up and say, do you have a few minutes? And I'll say yes. And so I have opportunities to constantly take a look and say, so what am I going to do? I don't know. I don't have a solution. I'm not here to fix something. I'm just here to be present. And so I've seen skin cancer disappear. I've seen headaches disappear. I've seen emotional trauma melt away. And so it's to me, it's a way where, in my way, through my heart, I can make an impact on the world. And I got that through Quantum Touch. I've explored a lot of different energy modalities. Without naming them, I tend to explore. It's my way of collecting data and data points, but what I always come back to in anyone, and anytime I touch someone, is Quantum Touch, because it all really, it flows through there. You know, it's about love. And that you're the only one who really says it's all about love. So, thank you.
You're so welcome, and thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, you're very special.
Oh, thank you.
You are. So, thank you. Can I give you a hug now? Yeah.